I checked into room 5, but when I woke up, the number on the door said 000, and there was no hallway outside, just darkness. It was supposed to be just one night. I was driving cross country to help my sister move, and I'd been on the road nearly 9 hours straight. Somewhere past midnight, I saw a flickering sign for a roadside motel, clear pines, and it looked run down but safe enough. I pulled in, exhausted, and took the first room they offered. Room 5, ground floor, corner unit. The clerk barely spoke, handed me an actual key, metal and worn, attached to a red plastic tag with a faded number 5 on it. The room was surprisingly clean. The bed was stiff but made, the walls were wood-paneled, and the air had that old motel smell, musty carpet and faint cigarette smoke. I remember locking the door, double-checking the number, and tossing my duffel by the TV stand. The last thing I saw before drifting off was the glowing red 5 on the door through the peephole. Sometime deep in the night, I woke up suddenly. No noise woke me. I just felt wrong, like something had shifted while I was asleep. The air was freezing, not cold freezing. I could see my breath. The heater was still humming quietly, but it wasn't doing anything. My phone wouldn't turn on either. I had plugged it in before bed, but now the screen was black, dead. I sat up, uneasy, and walked toward the door. That's when I saw it. The number 0, right where the 5 had been. The red numbers had been replaced with smooth, metallic 0, same size, same position, like they'd always been there. I opened the door, hoping maybe I was just disoriented. But outside, there was no hallway, no parking lot, no office, no sky, just blackness. Not dark, like someone had painted the world out beyond my door. The light from the room hit it and just stopped. It didn't reflect, it didn't move, it just consumed everything. I stepped back fast and shut the door. Tried to rationalize. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I was still asleep and didn't know it. I opened the curtain to the side window. More black. No trees. No sign. No moon. Not even my car. I sat on the bed for what felt like hours. Time didn't seem to move. My watch had stopped at 3:12 a.m. I remember that because it stayed there, no matter how long I stared at it. Eventually, I started yelling, screaming, pounding the walls, hoping maybe someone in the rooms nearby would hear me. But there was no answer. No echo. Even my voice just stopped at the walls. Then I heard it knocking, but not at the door. From inside the closet. I hadn't opened the closet since I got in. I'd dropped my stuff and gone straight to bed. But now, something was knocking from inside it. Slowly, rhythmically, like it was waiting for me to open it. I grabbed the chair from the desk and wedged it against the door. The knocking stopped. I stayed frozen in the chair, staring at the closet, every muscle tensed. Then I heard something else. A second knock. From the bathroom, like fingers brushing the mirror. The air in the room got heavier, my ears were ringing. And then, all at once, the knocking started everywhere. Behind the walls, under the floor, in the ceiling tiles. Soft knocks, loud ones, pounding, scraping. Like the room wasn't empty. Like it had never been empty. I screamed at the top of my lungs. And for a second, everything went quiet. Then the TV turned on by itself. No image, just static. But over the static, I heard a voice, my voice. From earlier, asking the clerk for a room, saying thank you, closing the door, talking to myself before bed. Then a new voice came in, one I didn't recognize. It whispered, "You should not have stayed." I don't know what happened after that. I must have blacked out, because the next thing I remember is waking up on the bed, bathed in sunlight, birds outside cars, normal sounds. I ran to the door. The number said room 5, just like it had before. I bolted outside. My car was there. The office was open. The world was normal again. I didn't say a word to the clerk, just dropped the key on the counter and drove off, fast. But here's the thing that still keeps me up at night. A week later, back home, I was going through my duffel bag. At the bottom, wrapped in one of my t-shirts, was a key. Old, metal, and cold. The tag read. I screamed as loud as I could, but no sound came out. And then I heard my voice, whispering back to me from somewhere inside the walls. It happened last fall, while I was staying at a small rental cabin in northern Washington. I needed a break from people, from work, from noise. I found the place online. It looked rustic and peaceful. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, nothing around 4 miles but pine trees and fog. Perfect. The owner handed me the keys in person. She was a short woman in her 50s who barely made eye contact. As she walked me to the front door, she said something that I didn't think much of at the time. "If the silence gets too thick, open a window, even just a little." I laughed, but she didn't. Inside, the place looked like the pictures, clean enough. Wooden interior, cozy fireplace, and a single small bedroom off to the side. There was no TV. The only sound was the crunch of my boots on the old floorboards. That first night was fine, quiet, like I'd wanted. Too quiet, honestly. I tried playing music on my phone, but it kept glitching, even though it worked fine earlier that day. I gave up and went to bed. The next morning is when things started to feel off. I was in the kitchen, humming to myself, making coffee, but I couldn't hear the humming. I stopped, confused. I tried again, no sound. Then I said hello, out loud, nothing. I felt the vibrations in my throat, in my jaw, but not a single sound came out. I shouted, hey, what the hell? Can anyone hear me? But the room stayed dead silent. Panic hit me hard. I ran outside, and the moment I crossed the doorway, my voice came flooding back, like someone had unmuted me. What the hell is going on? I said out loud, breathless, and this time I heard it. I stood there, stunned, staring at the doorway. I tested it again, stepped in silence, stepped out. Inside that cabin I couldn't make a sound. I called the owner from the porch, told her something was wrong. Her response, the room doesn't take kindly to loud voices. Keep it down, and it might ignore you. She hung up before I could respond. That night I didn't go back in. I slept in my car. The next morning though, I forced myself to go back inside to grab my things. I didn't plan to stay another minute. I just wanted my wallet, charger, and keys. But while I was packing, I heard something, a whisper, faint, too faint to catch the words. I froze. It was coming from inside the bedroom wall. I leaned in, holding my breath. That's when I heard it again. Only this time, I recognized the voice. It was mine, repeating words I had said earlier, almost like it was remembering them. Can anyone hear me? What the hell, hello? It wasn't an echo, it wasn't immediate. These were things I'd said the day before. I backed away slowly, heart pounding. The whispering didn't stop. My voice, raspy, warped, kept talking from inside the walls, cycling through fragments of panic, over and over, like a broken record of fear. I bolted for the front door, but it slammed shut. Hard. I hadn't touched it. I grabbed the knob. It was ice cold, wouldn't turn, wouldn't budge. And then the lights dimmed. The whole room seemed to sink into this unnatural stillness, like sound had been sucked into a vacuum. And from the walls, it started laughing. My laugh, but twisted, mocking, drawn out like it was enjoying itself. I tried to scream again, tried to call for help, but no matter how much I strained, no sound came out of my throat. I was yelling into a void. Then the whispers changed. They weren't just replaying me anymore. They were answering. Don't leave yet, the voice said. My voice still, so much to say. Something scratched at the inside of the wall. Slow, like fingers dragging along the wood, closer to the floor. Something was crawling inside. I grabbed a chair and smashed the window, needing to make a noisy noise. The glass shattered, and the instant the first shard hit the floor, the silence broke like a bubble. Sound rushed back in my breath, the wind, my heartbeat crashing in my ears. I didn't stop to process it. I ran, got in my car and drove until I hit a gas station with cell service. Told the cops there was something wrong with the cabin, that I'd been trapped. They found the place exactly as I'd left it, except for one thing. Behind the bedroom wall, they discovered a crawl space, empty except for a small, old reel-to-reel tape recorder. Still running, the tape was blank. No one could explain it. I haven't been back. But sometimes, when it's really quiet in my apartment, and I'm alone with no music, no traffic, no sound at all, I swear I can hear myself, whispering something I never said. The room was freezing when I woke up, like someone had opened the door, but I hadn't heard it open. And the chain lock was still in place. I was on my third day of a solo road trip across the southwest part vacation. Part escape from a breakup that still felt too raw to name. My car was packed with snacks, music, and every possible excuse not to go home. I wasn't in a rush, so I took a detour off the interstate to explore some of the back highways. That's how I ended up at the Dust Valley Motel. It looked like something out of a movie, an L-shaped stretch of faded yellow, sun-blistered signs, and a desert wind that whistled through a dented soda machine out front. There were no other cars in the lot, and when I stepped inside the office, the bell above the door gave off a hollow ding that barely echoed. The clerk was an older man with thin gray hair and thick glasses. He barely looked up from his book when I asked for a room. $29 a night. Cash only, he said. As I fumbled for bills, I noticed a dusty old Guestbook on the counter. It was thick, leather-bound, and had that crinkled paper smell of something long neglected. Out of habit, maybe curiosity, I flipped it open. My stomach dropped. About a quarter of the way back, written in large, careful print, was my full name. First, middle, and last. The date next to it was 3 nights ago. I froze, finger resting just under the entry. Is this ... a joke? I asked. The clerk looked up then, like I'd just said something offensive. What are you talking about? This. I turned the book toward him. That's my name. I've never been here before, and this says I signed it 3 days ago. He squinted at the page, then shrugged. You're the only one here, far as I know. Ain't had any check-ins since Tuesday. Today was Friday. I waited for a smirk. I got nothing. He slid the room key toward me, an actual metal key with a brittle green tag labeled Room 6. Enjoy your stay, he said, already going back to his book. I should have left right then. I should have gotten in my car, peeled out of the lot, and kept driving until sunrise, but I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe someone else with the same name. Maybe the date was wrong. Room 6 was at the far end of the row, near a busted lamppost that buzzed but didn't light. Inside, it smelled like old curtains and iron. The AC unit stuttered with a dying wheeze. Still, I dropped my bag, took a lukewarm shower, and tried to sleep. That's when the cold hit. I woke up around 2 a.m. shivering under the thin motel blanket. The room was freezing, even though the air from the unit was barely a whisper. Worse than that, I had the sharp, unmistakable feeling that I was not alone. I sat up fast. The door was shut, chain lock still hanging in place. No open windows, nothing obviously wrong. And yet, something was off. I grabbed my phone. The screen showed 1:59 a.m., then flickered and dimmed like the battery was dying. It had been fully charged when I went to bed. That's when I saw the logbook. It was on the desk by the window. I hadn't brought it into the room. I never would have brought it into the room. But there it was, open to the same page with my name and below it. In that same deep red ink, a new line had appeared. This time, it read, "Checked in. 3 nights. Never left." My hands went ice cold. I backed away from the desk and reached for the door, but something was wrong with the air. It felt thick, pressurized, like the atmosphere itself didn't want me leaving. I yanked the chain lock and twisted the knob, but the door wouldn't budge. Dead-bolted, sealed shut. Then came the knock. Tap, tap. Not at the door. At the window, I turned, expecting to see a shadow, a shape, anything. Just the desert night, still vast, empty, and then the curtain moved. From the inside, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in the corner, clutching my bag and watching the door like it might burst open at any second. When the sun finally came up, the temperature returned to normal. The door opened to no resistance at all. I ran straight to the front office. The clerk wasn't there. No note, no car, no sign anyone had ever been there at all. The Guestbook was gone. I didn't stop until I was 3 towns away, and even then, I barely slept for a week. It's been over a month now. I haven't told many people, because how do you even explain something like that? But here's the worst part. A couple nights ago, I was going through my backpack and I found a page. Torn, old, yellowed. It must have been slipped in without me noticing. It's from the Guestbook. And beneath my name, in that same red ink, there's a final line that wasn't there before. Checked out, denied.